Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Before we get started, we ask you to please put your cell phones on stun if you don't mind, so we don't interrupt the proceedings. Also, as we get started, we want to take just a minute. Last year, we had one of our veterans, Mr. D. Eastridge, did the musical accompaniment, and he passed away shortly after he did the ceremony last year. Um, we want to say thank you to him and hope he rests in peace. And it's going to be brief this morning. I'm glad to say it's not hot today. If you were at our Flag Day ceremony, it got a little rough, but it feels good today. So thank you all for being here. We certainly want to thank our VA staff for coming out, all of our community partners. I saw a bunch of folks around. We had Commissioner Buddy Adams was here, Sheriff Bill Harrell, Major John Wilson from the Sheriff's Department, and saw a bunch of other folks. I hate to miss anyone, but thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to come. We have this ceremony every year. This is our 9/11 observance, and this is to commemorate those folks who died on 9/11/2001. But it's also more than that. It's important that we take this time every year to remember the enduring spirit of American freedom and community that came out of those events. So that is not only a way to remember those who died, but it's a way to be positive about our country and to maintain our patriotism. So we're always encouraging folks to bring their children out. So I'm glad to see some little ones here this morning. Mark brought some. So in future events, I always encourage anybody you can think of to join us out here and bring the little ones every chance you get. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our acting director, Miss Dr. Connie Hampton.
Good morning. So it's such an honor to stand before you this morning as I represent our Medical Center Director, Ms. Mary Alice Morrow. First of all, I'd like to tell you all welcome to the annual 9/11 observation ceremony in commemoration of 9/11. I kind of want to tell a brief story. I'm sure everybody standing in this circle can think about a time or the place where you were when 9/11 actually happened. And I wanted to share my story with you just kind of briefly. I can recall being at the Birmingham VA Medical Center as a float nurse, and I was preparing to get ready to go up and see my patients on one of the med surg units. And that particular day, I normally floated through ICU, but was asked to work med surg, and I said, okay, I guess I will. The workload is a little bit different. I can recall looking at the television in the break room. We often looked at the news in the morning, and I can remember seeing the first airplane hit the building. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on? And when I saw the second one, I knew at that point it would change the way I saw patient care in the VA Medical Center. As I went on my day, went up to the different patients and saw them on the units, it was really, really touching to see the veterans and to hear them tell their stories about what it meant to them. But that day, I felt like I really, really did a good job. Out of all the days I had been a nurse, it's probably one of my most memorable days working on the unit because I was able to console those patients and let them know that we still had a very, very united country and that we were here to do only one thing, and that was to care for those who had borne the battle and to care for their offspring. And so I wanted to share that story because as we stand here today in commemoration of all of those who lost their lives, all of the emergency workers who showed to actually patronize those people and actually help them out that day, when we go back into our building, this is a wonderful day for us to commemorate and to remember why we are actually here and what our main mission is, and that's to care for those who have borne the battle. So with that said, I'd like to tell you guys I appreciate us having such a wonderful, wonderful turnout. And if you guys can continue through the day, think about what happened and what your story was on 9/11 and let that come out as you take care of our veterans today. With that said, I will turn it over to Chaplain Services.
Just one word before I say the prayer. I know you know how many people died. There was 3,400 police officers and firemen. And 24 hours later, when they were going through the rubble, they pulled up 18 people that were still alive. And they all made it. They also pulled up a tree, and they call it the tree that would not die. And I know you can't see all this, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's a Cleveland Callery pear tree. The firemen took the tree, because it had just a little bit of a green leaf on one of the branches, to the nursery in the Bronx, and they brought the tree back. The tree, as you can see, is standing right in front of where Ground Zero happened. So it's an amazing thing because there's no plaque. And people every day come, because the tree is so beautiful with bloom, that they come and they look at the tree and they stand around the tree and take pictures. And interesting that the birds will take the seeds all over Manhattan. And it's a great story about Americans and how we survive and how we rally together and how we bring life back. May we pray. Well, Lord, we stop to pause as we did that day to remember September 11th, 2001, where we were, how we felt, how we were just stunned. The old hymn says it best: give us shelter from the stormy blast to find healing in your eternal home. It is true, our Heavenly One, who assuages all grief, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. On this day we pause as we return not only to our hurt, but to your help, because we've been through a lot together. That's what we do as Americans, to bind up our wounds and heal our nation. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Now I want to have a couple of quick comments from our United Way Director, Heart of Georgia United Way Director, Mr. Johnny Payne. Johnny, and one of our biggest supporters here.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Not to take anything away from 9/11. That would be awful. So don't, anything I say, don't associate it with 9/11 except a day of caring. To see each of you here this morning, I can only imagine the families that were affected by the 9/11 that happened in this great country that we live. Yesterday was the United Way Day of Caring. And I talked about knowing people by their love, your love for our country, and your love that you exhibit every day to the veterans, my fellow warriors. I applaud your efforts for that every day. I've taken this time to say that to you. Day of Caring. The VA sent a team yesterday to the Day of Caring. We have several of our board members here today. Gerald DeWorth, Jay is here, Brad Lofton, and others probably that I'm not aware of are here. But I look around here and I see several of you who spent most of your day, almost all your day yesterday, working for the different things. But one particular lady and her husband, Wayne Neesmith, and Candace Neesmith, is right there. Right there. She spent, look at her right leg. It's got a fracture, folks. She spent all day painting a fence at TLC Casa. She was my new hero. United Way. Candace, thank you, and Wayne, too. That's what it's all about. Thank you, Frank. Once again, 9/11 is very, very special to all of America. But yesterday was special to our community. Thank you, Frank.
And Mr. Payne is a Vietnam Army veteran. We're always proud to have him here. And as far as the Day of Caring went, we also had some of our folks from the pharmacy who went out there, Heather Gore and Janice Stuckey from nursing, and somebody I missed. But and I'm sorry for that. But I can't tell you how it makes me feel to know that our VA folks are getting out in their community and representing us well and showing that we're a part of this community, not separated from it. So thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Folks, our musical accompaniment this morning is Mr. Clay Young, and he is fast becoming a fixture here at the Medical Center. We're not going to pay him, though. We're just going to keep imposing on his good nature. But as you can tell, he really knows how to belt one out, and that was inspiring, Clay. Thank you so much. Now we're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance led by our volunteer extraordinaire here at the Medical Center, Mr. Gus Albritton, followed by a moment of silence. Mr. Albritton.
Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus. Clay, you want to do one more?
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Beautiful, Clay. Thank you. And now once more we'll have Dr. Connie Hampton, our acting director, come up and close us out.
Thank you so much for that wonderful rendition. Absolutely amazing. First of all, I'd like to tell you all thank you so much for coming out and your participation, to our community partners, to the veterans, all of you who have served, as well as our staff. I'd like to say I really, really appreciate it. I'm sure if Ms. Morrow was here today, you guys know how her energy is. She would be on cloud nine to see so many showed up today. So with that said, please remember that this is a day of caring. I really like that phrase being coined as you go off and take care of our veterans and go out into the community. Thank you so much for your attendance.
Integrity Hospice of Dublin is your trusted healthcare partner. At Integrity Hospice, we care about you and what's best for your family. Our team of professionals assist patients and families face the most challenging days of their lives with dignity and compassion. Our approach addresses the holistic needs and wishes of our patients, from medical and pain management to household and nutritional assistance to emotional and spiritual support. Integrity Hospice, serving all of Middle Georgia. Trust, compassion, dignity. Integrity Hospice, Hillcrest Parkway, Dublin.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Frank Jordan, Communications Director here at the Carl Vinson VA Medical Center. And this morning we had our annual 9/11 observance. It was wonderful to see so many in the community come out. Our staff, we had a lot of our local dignitaries like Sheriff Bill Harrell here. Sheriff, how you doing this morning?
Fine, Frank. Good
Glad
to
to
see
have
you
you here. I noticed
Thank
your second in command there, John Wilson, was out with us too.
Yes, sir, he was.
Sheriff, what brought you out this morning? Well, I know the answer, but you tell me why you think you came out.
I came out here for the observance of 911. We do not need to let this be forgotten. You know, it's like we were talking yesterday. We see so many observances right now going on now. Then we got some tomorrow, and we got some Sunday too. You know, everybody in our community should realize and remember where we were at that particular time. And if it doesn't, it changed America's whole view.
That's right.
We seem to come together. We seem to get strong. and we need to make sure we don't ever leave that perspective. And, you know, we got to look after our veterans and our folks that's willing to help folks in our community, and that's what it's all about. We don't need to let it forget. And I appreciate y'all doing this today.
No, Sheriff, glad to have you here, and it's something we're committed to. We're going to do it every year. And, you know, a lot of people can remember where they were on 9/11, just like a lot of folks remember where they were when President Kennedy was shot and some other significant events.
I can still remember some of my family talking about, they remember when they first heard about Pearl Harbor, too.
That's right. That's another good one. And I say, you know, what I try to remind people of, though, is it's not a day to be sad. We want to remember those folks who passed away, of course.
I agree.
But what came out of that situation was our country unified, and people, you saw patriotism like you hadn't seen since World War II, in my opinion.
I agree. And folks stood up for things. They believed in America.
That's right.
And we need to keep that perspective in life now.
That's right. And the importance of these ceremonies for us is not just about VA or showing that we're a member of the community, which we absolutely are and want to make sure everyone knows. But for me and for the medical center, and I know Ms. Morrow, our director, it's about preserving our traditions. It's about encouraging people to transmit that sense of patriotism from one generation to the next. You know, I worry about the kids not understanding what patriotism is all about, and you have to do it in a way that they have these opportunities to come out. And I was glad to see a lot of kids here this morning.
Exactly. You know, long as it's inbred in them, because they need to be bringing on to their family and their children too in years to come. We don't ever need to let it be forgotten.
That's right. If we don't have these events like this and observe them and attend them, it will die out, won't it?
Sure will.
Well, we're not going to let that happen.
Thank you.
Sheriff, thank you for coming out this morning.
Thanks very much, Frank, and I appreciate it.
Dr. Hampton, good morning.
Good morning.
You're standing in for Ms. Morrow today. This is Dr. Connie Hampton, and folks. She's our acting director. And Ms. Morrow is off doing VA business, so
Absolutely.
Dr. Hampton stepped up. Usually you're our associate director for patient care services, but of course, like other good VA folks, you step up when the need arises, right?
Yeah, that's what we do.
you really had some inspiring words for the folks here this morning. I was really enjoyed hearing what you were able to personalize it as a nurse and on that day and how it affected you personally. I was really impressed with that. So, what do you think the importance of the VA being involved in these types of events is?
Well, I think it's important for VA to show how we are intertwined with our community and how we actually provide particular services for our veterans who continue to serve. 9/11 is very important to the VA, especially during this time, because we are taking care of some of those veterans who were actually deployed during Operation Iraqi Enduring Freedom and some of the other conflicts. And so it's important for us to continue to not only observe those who lost their lives on 9/11, but also to make sure that we promote it as a day of caring.
That's right.
To take care of those who actually are still out there on the front lines trying to protect this country.
That's right. The cause never ends. The mission goes
Never
on. We have to
does.
take care of
Never
America's
does.
heroes, don't we?
Absolutely.
Dr. Hampton, thank you for being here this morning,
Absolutely.
and thank you for everything you do for America's heroes.
Thank you.
Folks, we're here with Mr. Johnny Payne. Now, Johnny is not only a booster here at the VA, big supporter. He's a Vietnam veteran, U.S. Army, decorated, and he's been a fixture here for years. I don't call him a fixture because I'm trying to make him sound old. It's just that anytime we have an event, Johnny's here, and he recently became the director of our local United Way, the Heart of Georgia United Way, and he's doing great things there, of course. So, and of course, the VA is glad to be involved in that in any way we can. Johnny, what motivated you to come out for this event this morning, though?
Well, it's motivation, like you say, an ambassador for others. The booster, anyway, to come and see this every year. You put together a great program, Frank.
Thank you.
You really do. I'm not just saying that because we're on
Well,
camera.
we're glad to be involved. We are glad to be involved.
And see the guys that I know, see them and see all the, from the first year we did it, I almost tripled the crowd today.
Right. That's right.
Am I right?
That's right.
My heart is with any type of thing that goes with the VA as an ambassador. But for those who gave his or her life at 9/11, and to see this organization, what you mentioned in your comments, here for our veterans,
right.
I feel like it's just something I want to come to be a part of.
We want to be a part of the community. VA, you know, it's important to us on a practical basis because VA can't do it all. We have to have our community involved if we're going to give our veterans the care that they deserve and the respect they deserve. So we get our community folks involved, like you and some of our agencies and individuals. So these events help us solidify that. But it's also more than that, Johnny. It's transmitting that sense of patriotism from generation to generation and showing that the Carl Vinson VA Medical Center is not removed from the community. We're integrated in the community. We are part of the Middle Georgia community. So having folks like you here to help us with these events is critical. As a veteran, Johnny, you know, we know that the Vietnam, our folks that went to the Vietnam War and came back, they didn't get treated the way they should have. That's no secret. So How, do things like this help you as a Vietnam veteran to kind of recover a sense of appreciation as a service member, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing these people recognized, and my own son he was in the military, when he would walking into Hartsville and the people were applauding as he came up,
Right.
that gave my heart as well. But I will say this, the VA hospital has played an integral part in making our veterans feel at home by
Right.
2 Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans services here. One last year, and you played an integral part in that as well. But those type things make my heart feel good because everybody suffers with some sort of something, PTSD, from some sort of, it may not be just war.
Right.
The war certainly is a little more serious than others, but to see our veterans, Carl Vinson VA Medical Center here, help those veterans. When I walk the halls, I see them, and I see some smiles on their faces because of the excellent care that I feel like that you're giving. Sometimes you get the bad press, but I want to say the media, all the media, wonderful job.
Well, the VA's position on press, Johnny, is this is a democracy. If we didn't have our media out there, reporting things, it couldn't be a vibrant democracy. So we consider the media one of our stakeholders. The goal for us is to put out good stories like this to kind of balance out the other stories, and that's fine. But Johnny, one thing you were talking about how the veterans feel, and I try to point that out to folks. It's not just about their health care and their benefits. We've got to make veterans feel appreciated and respected because you don't go to war to get rich because you don't get rich.
That's right.
I talked to some of the older veterans that they tell stories about having been in the military when they made $40-something a month and that type of stuff. And I'm thinking even back then that couldn't have been much, So it's definitely about respect and showing them that they're appreciated. So, it's good to know that as a veteran you come here and you feel honored for what you do.
I see them, yeah. It's wonderful to see what's been done for them.
Johnny, thank you for the good work you're doing with United Way and as a veteran supporter here, and keep it up.
It's a great organization. I'm proud to be a part of it. Every time I do something or go to an agency and to see these VA, and I mentioned Candace, but others as well, to see them, and I've asked them to give me some input as to what yesterday meant to them.
Right.
And I know they'll give me some great, because they'll never forget.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you,
Keep
Frank.
it up. Folks, I'm here with Mr. Gus Albritton. Now, full disclosure, Gus is not just our volunteer extraordinary here at the Carl Vinson VA Medical Center. He puts in more hours than most folks get paid, including me. Every time I start feeling cocky, thinking I'm coming in early, staying late, coming in on my off days, I think about Gus Albritton, who doesn't get a dime, and yet he's still here. He's here when I come in, he's here when I leave, and then I'll get reports he was over the weekend, he was doing something. So it's hard to compete with a guy like Gus, and that's why I tell people here at the Medical Center, don't act like an employee, act like a volunteer. And when I say that, I'm always thinking about Gus. Gus is a Vietnam Army veteran, and he's been with us here as a volunteer since 92, somewhere in that area, right? 91.
Next month, 25 years.
Gus, how many hours do you say you have here?
Over 22,000.
Yeah, 22,000. It's just, we have to have a whole new category to recognize people like you, Gus. Gus, what is the 9/11 event? You and I have talked in the past years. I know a 9/11 hit you very hard. It affected us all, but I remember you and I having some conversations, and you talked about it was particularly poignant for you. How does an event like this help you to deal with the memories of that situation?
Well, this is the 15th year anniversary, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to never forget. It's like December 7th, 1941, when our country was pushed into World War II with the attack at Pearl Harbor. This attack on September 11th, 2001 ushered us into the war on terror, and we're still involved in that war. But personally for me, it's something that brings us together as a nation. It lets us know that we're not so large that our enemies are not trying to attack us. And it keeps us vigilant. It keeps us wanting to be stronger and stronger as a nation and as a people. And September 11th is a day that I'll never forget. It's like December 7th, 1941 to our older veterans, World War II veterans, Korean War veterans. They'll never forget that either.
That's
they
right.
Remember where they were.
Gus, I tell people that freedom is only preserved through eternal vigilance. It's people like you in the military, our active duty military today, our veterans who've been through it, the freedom's not free.
That's right.
It's not, there's people out there in the world who are not going to let us have it.
That's right.
We have to keep it. And so that's why I think that's another reason events like this are important. So we're constantly reminded that we have to be on our P's and Q's, we have to support our military folks, and we have to honor our veterans after they've come back. So you've been around the VA a long time. Do you think things are trending the right way?
Yes, I do. I get all my health care here at the VA, and I get excellent care. We're constantly improving access where we can get in and see a doctor in a timely manner, and the quality of care is increasing. And I'm just glad to be affiliated with this hospital.
Well, Gus, we're glad to have you, and we're hoping everybody out there get on our Facebook and keep an eye on the events we have out here, because trying to make sure everyone knows that their local VA is a part of the community is important to us, and events like this help do that. And people like you that support us and help us make these events happen, Gus, you're invaluable to us. I want to tell you that. And like I said, there'll be a little something extra in your pay bucket one day.
I'm sure it will.
Thank you, Gus. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.